Hey, this is Scott from Hilux Optics, back at the range to get sighted in on 3 classic rifles using a variety of optical systems. After the cut, we're going to go ahead and get started with some basic overview and then actually get shooting as we get these each sighted in on down the range at 50 yards. Stay tuned. We're back at the range to get sighted in on these 3 classic rifles. Let me talk through them real quick. This is the Winchester 94 mounted up with the Malcolm 2-tone 6-power short rifle scope. It is offset mounted using the Winchester 94 kit, and I've switched out the mounts for those found on the all-black 6-power scope in order to make everything work out. But don't worry, it'll still run pretty straightforward. Up here we have an 1885 Hi-Wall with the 6-power long Malcolm scope mounted in with the direct dovetail mounts. No extra drilling and tapping, keeps it in line, and separates your elevation and your windage to the rear and the front mounts. And finally we have an unusual setup. A Browning 92 with the TD3 red dot sight mounted on with this here Lyman peep sight replacement that uses the screw holes found on the left side of the receiver. All these setups are actually pretty straightforward to get sighted in, although this is the only one that we'll actually be able to bore sight with. With the other 2 rifles, I'll show you a few tips and tricks to get sighted on, get yourself on paper, and from there, it should all be quite easy to actually get on target. I'll also be talking over the adjustment values found in each of these scopes. They do change a little bit as you adjust the spacing between the front and the rear mounts. We'll start with the short scopes. Now going forward, all of our Malcolm scopes will be marked so that at 7 1/4 spacing, the index lines will refer to a quarter minute. On some of our older scopes, the markings were a little different and you may have to do the math. If they are spaced 5.4 inches apart, because these are externally adjusting, that is actually going to change your adjustment value. That brings it to 1/3 of a minute per line. If you space them farther apart, you get finer adjustments, 1/5 of an MOA per line. Similarly, on the 1885 Hi-Wall here, currently we have a spacing of about 24 inches. At 24 inches, each of the index lines on this direct dovetail mount will account for about 7 MOA. If you were to space them a little farther, a little closer, it would change that value. And on our traditional drill and tap mounts, each of the index lines there would refer to 14 MOA at 24-inch spacing. Finally, on the TD3 sight, because these are internal adjustments, there'll always be 1 MOA per click. That keeps it pretty easy, so this should be the easiest, and we'll save this one for last just to have a little fun throwing a red dot on a lever action. Well, keep watching as we get each of these rifles sighted in on paper at 50 yards, and then finally take them out to hit some steel for some real fun. We'll be starting with the 1885 Hi-Wall. This is chambered in 45/70, so it's got a nice gentle push into the shoulder. On top of this, we've got the 6-power long scope using the direct dovetail mounts. And we'll start with mentioning that this is an inline mount. This rifle doesn't eject out of the top, so we can keep the scope right over the top here, make it easy to keep everything in line with the bore of the rifle. If you ever have the opportunity to mount a scope inline, it's usually preferred over mounting offset. But as we'll see later, there are situations where you may have to offset the scope to the side. Here though, everything is actually the easiest for zeroing out of pretty much any rifle, even the modern ones. We're able to bore sight. In order to bore sight, you simply set the rifle in a nice stable hold, a couple of bags here, get it pointed at something identifiable downrange, and then adjust your scope so that that's looking at exactly the same item. If you've done that, well, you're probably going to be on paper. It helps if the target's closer. In this case, we have it at 50 yards. 25 yards is also going to make it even easier. 100, you may miss the paper, so it can be a little difficult to tell whether or not you're actually getting close and what side you're on. We'll cover how to get past that in a little bit later when we're using the offset scopes as well. This scope is externally adjusted. That means that you're actually moving the scope tube around whenever you make an adjustment. These scopes have a pretty simple rule of thumb. Move the back in the direction that you want the impact to go. If I need my impact to go lower, I'll move the scope lower. If I need it to go higher, I'll move it higher. And again, at the spacing we're at, each of the index lines back here are 7 MOA, so it should be pretty easy to figure out how far we need to move once we're on paper. Up at the front, the windage works in the reverse rule. Back here, you would move the scope in the direction you want your impact to move. Up there, you move the opposite direction. That's something that's going to sometimes trip me up, but I hope that I'm always going to be adjusting in a way to get me closer to the target. If I make a mistake, I apologize. I'm really not quite used to the windage up there yet. It's a fairly new system. Well, that about covers it for the basics on this rifle and scope, so it's time to get bore sighted before we take a couple shots at the target and see where we end up. Okay.
Rolling. All right. Should
I feel like my windage might be really off.
Maybe.
Let's see.
Should I back it out so we can see the ground?
No. Let's see if we end up on paper.
Okay. Rolling here. Hey Leo, we're going hot.
It's not hot yet.
Oh, we got a comedian.
No, I just what? Look.
Okay. I'm going to go for... left column, middle sheet, target 2.
Got it. Okay. It hit target 1 on the first ring, or the second ring at 12 o'clock.
Oh, right in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I'm a little to the left. I need to come to the right. If it were at the back, I would move the back to the right. But because the front is opposite, I'm going to move the front to the left. That's about, what, 3 inches?
I would say, wait, 1, 2,
4 inches?
4 inches.
4 inches? Okay. I'm going to move a whole index line because we're 50, so everything's halved. Same one, number 2.
That one went low. Windage was came over to the right.
What did I hit?
That one hit just to the right of the paper at target 5 on the line.
Oh, I see. Way down there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, this was some ammo that we weren't sure was going to work, and, you know, got us close. Time to switch to the real stuff. So the WW brass?
Yeah.
I'm not going to make any adjustments. Same target.
Okay. It hit target 5 at 1 o'clock.
Oh, very close. Okay. So the windage is good. I just got to come up. That's, what was that, 4 inches?
Something, yeah, about 4 inches.
Okay. So I need my impact to go up. I'm going to move the back to the back upwards. We'll go 1 index line. See where that gets us.
Steel target with the line across.
Yeah. I'm not going to touch the elevation or windage here. We'll see where we go. Ready?
Yep. Top of the plate, 12 o'clock.
Okay, let's give it another.
So upper like fifth, or upper quarter of the plate, 12 o'clock.
Okay, I'll leave it there then. It's
Yeah.
hitting. Cool. Time to move on to the next rifle. Next up, we have the Winchester 94. This is chambered in 30-30, a very classic round for deer hunting. Unfortunately, because it ejects out of the top, we need to make sure the scope is moved off to the side so that it doesn't jam up any of the cartridges that are trying to leave. For that, we're using the Winchester 92-94 offset kit. I've swapped out the mounts from one of the all-black scopes, and I've slipped in the two-tone scope, which I'm quite fond of. Now, this particular setup, there are two schools of thought. Should the crosshairs sit to the left of where your impact's going to be, like the scope is sitting to the left? Or should it lay over right on the target where you're going to be putting your bullets? That is actually up to personal preference. I'm a big fan of putting the crosshairs where I intend to hit, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. Now, this particular rifle, because it is a lever action, we've got the hammer here, we've got all the bolt carrier, we won't actually be able to bore sight. So if I try to get this set up on paper and it turns out I can't even see where I'm hitting, we're going to revert to an old but very easy trick. We're going to shoot for the dirt. If I point my scope at a spot on a berm or a little patch of dirt where I can identify where things will fall around it, and I see a dust cloud off to the left, well then I know my bullet's going a little too far to the left. If I point at the top of a berm and I don't see a splash of dirt except way in the distance, then I know the bullet's going way too high. We may not end up needing that trick, but I'll show you how it'll work before we get on paper. And then, of course, we'll get this sighted in, get it centered, and then start hitting steel out at 100, because that's really where the fun starts. Like I alluded to with the 6-power long scope and the direct dovetail mounts, in order to get on target, we're going to be moving the rear of the scope in the direction that we want the impact to go. Now, unlike the direct dovetail mounts, both the elevation and the windage are found back here at the rear mount, so we can obey that one simple rule just as we would for almost all the other Malcolm scopes, including the 8-power, the 6, and the 3-power. If I need my impact to go to the right, I'll move the back of the scope to the right. On this mount, that'll be by turning the windage counterclockwise. Fortunately, because this is externally adjusting, I can actually see if the scope is moving in the right direction. So if I'm turning it the wrong direction, it's pretty easy to bring it back to where it was, and then just go the other way. For the elevation, same idea. If I need my impact to go up, counterclockwise, bring the rear of the scope up, and then that should have me on target. But let's put a few extra rounds down range just to really make sure on this fun old Winchester 94. Looks fine. Okay, I'll just load them singly then.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Have it zoomed out where we can see the base.
Okay, ready to go?
Yep. It's way to the right. It's out of the sight picture. I couldn't see.
Yeah, it was way high and to the right. Okay, so. Give me a second. So I need to come to the left. A lot. And I need to come down. Okay. Try for the dirt again.
Okay, it hit just behind the target.
Looked like it was still a bit to the right.
A little bit to the right, yeah. Maybe like a target to the right.
Okay. Let's switch back to the paper then.
Okay, 1 second.
I'll go right column, middle sheet, cider.
Okay. All right. Okay, to hit target 2 at 8 o'clock.
I see it.
Elevation is pretty close.
Okay, so a lot more to the left.
Yeah, maybe like 7, 8 inches to the left.
How's the recoil feel?
Nice. Pretty nice. Yeah.
I'm only looking for loading point.
Nice. 7 o'clock on the cider target. I'd say that's pretty much sighted in.
And last but not least, we have the Browning 92. This is mounted up with a TD3 red dot sight and is chambered in 44 Remington mag. Now this I expect to be just a whole lot of fun. I don't want to spend too much time getting on paper with this one. We're going to be covering a lot of the same details that were seen in the Winchester 94. This is also a lever action, so we can't bore sight. And this gives me a very wide field of view with the red dot sight. So if I can't see where I'm hitting on paper, I'm just going to shoot the dirt, see if I'm going too far left, right, up, or down, and make the adjustments here. This is also going to be a lot more familiar of an adjustment style to people who are used to other red dot sights or modern optics. These are internal adjustments. The direction of the adjustment is marked here with either up or right, and I just turn in the direction that the arrow indicates. Each click is going to be 1 MOA, which at 50 yards will be ½ an inch of adjustment. Out at 100 yards, that would be 1 inch per click. Once we get it on paper, we're going to let this have all its fun out at steel at 100 yards. That, I think, is really how we're going to end the day, just plugging away on this classic lever action and all of our other rifles sighted in nice and easy.
All right, rolling here.
That thing's got a lot of recoil.
Okay. So, the rock right at the base?
Yep.
That's what I'm going for.
I think it went through the target. I didn't see, so
Way high.
about a foot high.
Yeah.
You don't see any holes on paper?
Let me zoom in and see.
Yeah, gotta lower that sight down quite a bit.
Maybe do another one. This actually, I do see a hole. It's on the right target at 2 o'clock on the ring. If you want to take a look here.
question is, do I bring the dot up to meet the hole? I think so.
Where's the dot at right now?
At the rock.
No, I mean in relation to the front sight.
A little less than a 1/4 inch above.
A little less than a 1/4 inch. Maybe do like an 1/8 of an inch. See what that does.
Oh, that'd make it higher. I need to bring the dot up so my impact goes down.
Oh yeah. So yeah, okay.
You gotta drop the sight down. Why don't you drop it down all the way to the stop and just see if that does it. For some reason. And what load are you shooting?
The lead.
Lead? Were those some I gave you?
Yeah.
No, they aren't.
Okay.
How's the recoil?
Mild.
I got some that really shake your teeth.
All right, same rock. Let me know when you're ready.
Ready?
Just over the top of it.
So now I'll bring it down with these sights.
Hold on 1 second. Let me get on the right target. Okay. Impact. Huh.
Load 3.
Two o'clock on the orange circle.
All right, then we need to dial it down.
In fact, it looks like it's really moved from the side here.
Yeah, I'm gonna try something crazy. Same target.
Same spot.
Okay. How about 200?
Okay.
Let's do the one on the left.
Give me 1 second. All
Should
right.
have an dot in the middle.
Got it.
I'm gonna favor the upper third.
Okay. Impact. That was center, but it hit upper third.
Okay. 300. Stop in the center.
Yep. Low right.
Okay. So.
was like a target low, I think. Wind is okay. I think mostly just low.
Okay, moving again.
Oh, that one went over.
Went over?
Yep.
Okay. I was holding off for the wind, so I think I just skipped past the edge.
It's close to a half, and then it's 5, so then. Okay, shoot the little target.
Impact. 12 o'clock at the edge.